by showing a video of Pasquale. When you see that picture in my office of me and the older guy, that's Pasquale. He was my mentor and my friend. He passed away. It'll be 2 years ago, March 1st, which is right around the corner. We'll be having an event at his house that night as well. So it's to be exact, it's 2 minutes and 50 seconds of a video, and it comes from he used to do a seminar to teach us how to take care of people. This is the last one we did with him in 2008. So he's speaking to a group of chiropractors, just to give you an idea of the context of it. And I don't have anything else to say. I'm just going to show the video, and then I'll say a few words after that, and we'll get going.
All right. You want to get the lights, or?
Yeah, I'll help Jack.
All right.
Tell me.
All right, here we go.
What really happens when we serve, that's the word serve, not adjust, serve a person. When we serve chiropractic to a person. And it is no different that if you would serve food to a hungry person, and that hungry person would eat that food. And if he stayed with you for 3 or 4 days, and you fed him with the goodness of your misplaced heart, at least the heart would act as if it were in the center only. So you serve food, and in 3 or 4 days, that person feels better and now recognizes, what did I do? I went on a bend or shoot and hurt myself. Now I'm going to go out there and walk the straight line. Now, before he leaves, or she leaves, he'll turn around to you, who are the food server, and say, thank you so much for making me well. Did you make the person well? No. Did you adjust that person's head? No. So he or she can go straight again? No. All you did was serve food, and it is that person who made his own adjustments or her own adjustments within himself, herself. You don't adjust anything. You serve. Because that person has the potential or the ability to make it so better. Without thinking about it. That's the beauty part of it. The only thing, if he or she has hindrances up here in the thought processes, remove them, and it goes forward.
All right, Dan. I don't want to mess with the lights. So that was Pasquale. That was from 2008. And if you see in my office, he first went to a chiropractor in the early 1930s. He was born 1911. And he showed the guy how to stay. You see it in my plate, it says, there's a you within you, and that is the healer. So listen to the you in you. And if you look at that, the last part I said, only if the person has hindrances in their thought processes. Yeah. And one day, this is going back to 1998, when I first started going to his house. He was married to a chiropractor. Her name was Elita. And she had the office running. He had an office at his house. And she had a little meeting. And it was with her, Pasquale, myself, and a couple of her people she takes care of. There was a woman there who had a stroke a year earlier. But if you met her, you wouldn't. She spoke fine. She could walk fine. She just couldn't raise her right arm. That was the one thing giving her trouble, and she kept talking about it. So Pasquale, he was about maybe an inch shorter than me. He stood up, and the lady's like, she's like right there. So he walks up to her, he goes, "What do you want to do?" She goes, "I want to raise my arm over my head," and she did it. And we're all looking at her, and then, you know, she was amazed. And he goes, "There," and he sat down. That's all he said. He didn't say anything else to her after that. So all these years later, I watched this, and I said, you know, at that moment, I guess the way he spoke to her, he put such a tone into her, it made her break up whatever was inside of her, and she wasn't thinking about, oh, my arm. He said, "What do you want to do?" And she was focused on that, and she did it. Because how many people focus on what they can't do? And you get caught up in that, you're pretty much screwed, because that's all you're going to be. That's what the main thing I take away from that. And the other thing, I'm going to say some more as we go along. But when I give people the opportunity, if you want to come up here and say something, this is how he used to have, and we still have the meetings at his house. Since 1968, this are the rules he had. You have 3 minutes to say whatever you like, but don't curse or insult anyone. You can disagree, but be nice. And then you could, after that, people get to ask you things of what you said. But you only have 2 minutes to answer 3 questions. So that means you gotta either say, this is how you answer people. Yes, no, I don't know, or a brief explanation. And I have a little stopwatch over there to make sure everyone goes nice and tight. And when I stand up, that means you got about 10 seconds to cut it off. If you don't, then I will. Not to be mean, but if you can get up and say something in 3 minutes, then if you have to give a longer talk, suppose you get to speak for 10 or 15 minutes, the way I learned, you're doing a bunch of 3-minute presentations and you string them all together, and it comes together very nicely. So if you want to speak, all you can do is raise your hand and come on up. Does anyone want to say anything? You don't have to. It's just a rough, then I'll say more. Anyone raising their hand? Or? All right. Well, I'll fill in some time here. The one thing we've been talking about lately is at his house is, you know, Michelangelo did that sculpture. What was it called? David? And someone asked him, "How'd you do that?" He goes, you know, well, I started off with a big block of marble, and I removed that which was not David. So I look at that, a chiropractor helps people makes you more aware of who you are. So every time you go to a chiropractor, Pasquale had a saying, every time you go to a chiropractor's table, he helps you create a whole new you. So every time you go to a chiropractor on your table, a little bit of the stuff that you don't need, all that negativity or all that garbage gets chipped away, and then you can find out who you really are. If you learn how to listen to yourself, you can do those things. I tell people, Bojana there's a young lady who did the mural in my office. I tell us, these reporters came from the Channel 12. I don't know what it's called, Big New Jersey News or something.
Well,
what channel was it?
It was on Channel 12.
Channel 12, and they came in, and I just said, you know what? Well, they didn't interview me. I offered this to someone. I said she already had that painting done inside of her. She just let it come out in bits and pieces. She did it, because she only did an hour here or 2 hours there, but she did it. It's the same thing with anything else in your life. You really want to do something, you have to learn how to listen to yourself and do it. And I think, and for me, chiropractic helps me do that. And I believe it helps other people do that. So now, does anyone else want to get up and say anything? Want to get up, Annette? Sure. All right, I'm going to...
If I'd known I was going to be on stage,
There's a step over here.
I would have dressed for the occasion.
I'll be your post.
Thank you, Carlin. So I'm curious to know how many people here have actually been adjusted or actually served by Brian. Everybody except for you. Have you been adjusted by other people?
No.
So you came here to learn about chiropractic?
That's correct.
Okay. I just want to say that I have rheumatoid arthritis. But prior to even having rheumatoid arthritis, I was introduced to chiropractic at a very young age, 15. And manipulation of the body. And I've had the opportunity to go to a lot of famous chiropractors, a lot of gifted chiropractors. And Brian is one of the most gifted I've ever been to. So I encourage you that if you want to try, that you try with Brian. He also is sweet in that he encourages you, again, to just look to yourself, to bring out the best in yourself. So he's helped me immensely because it's been very stressful for me to move here. I moved from Colorado. And when you're in alignment, you're unimpinged, not only physically, but on many different levels, depending on how you want to accept that. Does anyone have any questions?
I'll run that. Make it easier on you, I'll run it. Anyone want to ask Annette anything? No, you stay here. Anyone want to ask Annette anything? Go ahead, right here.
If you feel like sharing it, but why did you come here from Colorado?
There are many reasons. It was kind of a circuitous route, but my partner of almost 8 years, his parents lived here, so we come here every year. But number one is it's always been on my bucket list to live in New York City. And I'm free. I'm from LA, but I've lived in San Francisco, Seattle, Georgia, Missouri. Where else have I lived? I've lived in a few places, different places in Colorado. So we actually lived in Aspen. Number two was the economy. And three was his family, his mother was ailing. So it was hard for him to think about moving back here, but it actually was those two events, and it was very lovely because she passed on the 23rd. He got to spend 6 months with her, and I got to spend 3 months with her. And it was great.
Anyone else want to ask Annette anything? Edward Etzion.
How did you discover chiropractors and chiropractic? And what led you to them? And how has it helped you?
As a young girl, I was always interested in natural health. I had a conflict going whether to be a doctor or a pediatrician because I was good with children. And I took my first course in college, which was a psychology course. And it was Psychology 101. And I don't know if any of you will date me, but they had a movie that, was it Kesey? King Kesey that did it?
Oh, yeah.
On rhesus monkeys. Do you recall this? Would it have been him? Or if I'm confusing him with someone else? I'm confusing him with Tim, one of the guys that actually did LSD experimentation later on.
Tim Leary.
One of them, anyhow, they were involved. So they took 500 rhesus monkeys, they put them in cages, they covered half of the cages with a mother that held a bottle, and they put terry cloth, the other half they did not. And this was the beginning of me thinking about becoming an MD, you know, because the experiment proved that the ones that didn't have that little bit of comfort suffered. And the conclusion was, you suffer without motherly love. And I thought, I'm not going to spend money and study this course, so, you know, to figure out things that are obvious.
Right.
So I got very involved in natural health, massage, herbology, and chiropractic came in.
All right, I'll take that.
So invite all your friends and anybody.
All right.
Thanks.
Anyone else want to come up here? Bojana. Got it?
Okay. It was funny, the other day I was at Brian's office and we were talking to one of his patients before she was going in. And I was like, yeah, Brian's seen me through this and this and this. I mean, and he's been with me through so much. Like before I had kidney failure, during kidney failure, on dialysis, during my transplant, I had a kidney and pancreas transplant. He was with me during that, during my recovery. He would come to my house 3 times a week and do home visits. And something that was amazing that he had said to me was that the body's like an orchestra, and you have to make sure everything is playing well together, everything is in tune. And it's something that really stuck with me, I think, through all that, but it really hit home when he was talking about my transplant and just how important is everything to be in tune. And it's really interesting, and I really do give Brian credit for this, but my doctors are just so amazed with my progress with my transplant, because a kidney and pancreas transplant is a much more, the combination of the two is a much more fragile surgery, and there's usually a lot more complications, especially with the pancreas. And I mean, every time I go in, they're like, "You're doing great." I mean, like, my doctor's a very mild mannered, doesn't get not very excitable, but he's always just so amazed at how well my health is doing. And of course, that's also just, I take care of myself as well, but I do regularly see Brian. And I think just also because he is so skilled as a chiropractor, but also that he just genuinely cares about people and genuinely wants the best for you. And working on the mural I did for months, I got to see all these wonderful interactions with people and how Brian treated everybody with the same respect and care and concern. And I think that's also a really important part of the healing process, is somebody there who genuinely cares and wants you to do better and believes that you can. So I think, like, he's been with me through all these things, and I really don't think I would be as good of a spot as I am if it wasn't for his help. He's really made a huge difference.
You want to ask Bojana, La Artista, anything? Hey, well, that's young.
Yeah, I've seen your mural. I've been to Brian's office. It's quite beautiful. But then I was rather shocked. I read an article about you yesterday.
Ah.
You painted that, yet you can't see too well.
Wait a
Well, yeah.
Windshield, I see.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to explain to people how I see is it's like looking at a foggy windshield. Like, I mean, I can see like the outlines of the seats, I can see the outlines of the people, but I can't really see the details of the faces. I can kind of see the darkness of the eyes and things like that, but I can't see detail. I don't really have peripheral vision. If I look straight, like, this is a complete blur, but I can see this way, but it's like a blurry windshield. So when I paint, what I do is I usually use a lot of contrast. I use a lot of thick black lines. And the thing is, you know, he was talking about how the mural was already in my head, and that's how it is when it's painting. Like, it's already, I'm just using my hands to get what's in my imagination onto the canvas or the wall. I'm so grateful Brian gave me the opportunity to do that, and that he had the faith in me that I could do that. You know, it's great.
I did 5 snowflakes.
Yes, I made him. I said, Brian, I was like, you have to do some snowflakes.
And I held the ladder for her.
He held the ladder. And that's another thing. Like, he's always encouraged me to do a little bit more. Like, I was kind of scared to be up on the ladder, and I wrote, like, structure determines function on the top in English and Spanish. And he's like, we can just do this. I'm like, no, Brian, that's no. You know, and he's like, you can do it. I'll make sure. I'm like, okay, Brian. And then, like, you know, we had to keep switching, and I had to come down like 5 times. But, like, by like the 4th or 5th time, I wasn't scared anymore. Like, I was able to do it, and that was just another great thing. Like, and that just says so much about Brian, that he does have faith in you, and gives you a little bit more faith than maybe you thought, you know, that you had.
Yeah, one more. You want to ask about Johnny? This young lady right here.
I think it's really funny that I came and sat here because I bought one of your paintings a week ago.
I
loved it. I walked in, I was like, I can't live without it.
Where was that? Where was
I was
that?
at a gallery opening on Grove Street at Shampoo.
Oh, yes, at Shampoo.
And I've never met you,
That's
which
the
is
hair
really
salon.
weird because
That is awesome. I love
it's a
your
real,
Jersey
like,
City.
synchronistic.
Only in Jersey City.
What?
Was it against the rules for me to say that was fabulous?
Oh, no.
Well, that's it for Bojana. Got it? One more. All right, whoever else like to come up? Mark Johnson.
Officially, at Self Center, we address who we are and what we do. I'm one of Brian's greatest friends. I'm one of Pasquale's proteges, like Ezra Fernando. I'm a chiropractor for 32 years. Very proud to be here tonight and with all of you, because I don't even know where we are in Jersey City. We just followed the navigator to get here.
Where are you from?
Red Bank.
Red Bank, New Jersey. So there's so much, and I have 3 minutes, so maybe we'll get a chance to come up a second time or something, but I would just like to share what it's like for me being a chiropractor for all these years and some of the real highlights. And you had mentioned earlier about how things changed for you, not just physically. Well, I look at the body as we are nothing more than like a barometer, a physical barometer for our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual state. So Pasquale, one of the questions I asked him when I met him which was only about 10 years ago. So I've been practicing for 22 years. Why is there a need for us, if God made this incredible body that built itself, heals itself, why can't it put itself back into alignment? Why do they need us even to help it heal? And he said, he lifted his finger as many times he would, and he'd go, that's a very important question. I'll give you the answer. And I sat in this little Sheraton bar on the side with him, and we stayed out of the seminar that we were actually signed up to go to. And he said, if you could keep the thought that you and God are one every second of your life, you won't shift out of alignment. Because when your physical state shifts, it might be because of fear, an emotional thing that hit you, and you move out of alignment. Or your mental stress, some kind of worries that you have or things that you run, whether it's conscious, and I find most of my people have bad dreams and they don't know it, and they shift out of alignment when they sleep. And come in the morning going, and really, you know what? How do you get hurt in bed, really? How do you get hurt? You know, so I realized that adjusting those people back into alignment created this energy flow that they naturally inherently have to release itself and move again. And then some of us are here on a spiritual mission, and we really don't know it, so when we bump up against people that aren't on a spiritual mission and try to bring us down, sometimes we shift out of alignment that way, and maybe we lose that thought that we had that faith that we came here to share with everybody. So chiropractic is kind of like loving the people. We're here to love you guys. We're here to share who we are, channel this incredible, I won't say energy because he used to correct us and say power, because it's not a force, it's a power that's within us, but channel that when we work on you guys. And it's a beautiful gift that we can do. So if you think of yourself as physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, that's actually the hierarchy that we really are. Physical is like the lowest, emotion body next. And how do we move out of our emotions when people say we're stuck all the time? Through mental body, through understanding. That understanding of why we're stuck in that physical, emotional state. And then if you give up to your spirit, it will all line back up. So basically when we adjust people, we're helping them feel their spiritual energy in a really constant state in that moment. And I'm not.
Anyone want to ask Mark anything? Bojana.
What if you don't believe in God?
You got to believe something's bigger than us, right?
Sure, but
Universal energy, whatever you want to
Oh,
call
okay,
it.
it was just-
I call it God. I'm not a preacher. I don't say this church, that religion. I just believe there is something more powerful and intelligence. We in chiropractic call it universal intelligence. So it makes everybody feel like they can fit into it. Because there is a higher intelligence than we are.
Anyone else want to ask Mark anything? Anyone? All right, good job, Mark. All right, the floor is open. Whoever would like to speak, all you do is raise your hands. Edward Exiano, the actor, Edward Exiano.
I figured I'd be remiss if I didn't address people since I am an actor. But yeah, I am an actor. I'm Edward Exiano. I wished I could have discovered chiropractic much earlier in life. I didn't until only really in 2008, and I had injured my back numerous times in my youth in my wild activities, and just lived with pain and suffering. And came back to the New York area in 2007 with a midlife dream in my mid-40s of becoming an actor. But the old injuries caught up with me and I started to fall to pieces. The doctors had recommended spine surgery and given me pain pills, and chiropractic changed my life physically and enabled me to go on with my career. However, beyond that, my chiropractor friend, who I met by chance by meeting a friend of his son at a job that I had, introduced me to Pasquale, who truly, beyond chiropractic, is one of the most remarkable and probably the most spiritual person I've ever met. And he changed my life in many other ways. And of course, I was privileged to be there the day he died. Little did I know it would prepare me for what I'd be dealing with a year later when my fiancée died of cancer after a long hospitalization. But I'm also grateful meeting the community of chiropractors I've met through these experiences over the past few years, because I have to admit, I mean, you are the most decent, ethical, moral, giving people as a community I've ever encountered in my life. And my gratitude is enormous, especially in the past year when my fiance was dying, the help I got from Brian and Tom Musto and others, chiropractors who would come to the hospital and adjust her in secret when she was in pain, and they just wanted to give her morphine to deal with the cancer that she was dying from. And she requested chiropractors. They wouldn't officially approve of them, but she was able to go out drug-free in her last day. But I just wanted to say that I view my life now, look at my life, and really I kind of view like, there's like before chiropractic and after. The parts of my life before I'd encountered chiropractors and chiropractic seem really confused and meaningless, and everything seems far more focused and purposeful since I made that accidental discovery. And that's, you know, I just thought I'd make a statement of it.
By the way, the chiropractor was Bob Crystal. I know. They know Bob.
Okay, yes.
And so does his father.
Yeah.
So, does anyone want to ask Edward X. Young anything? He has that actor's voice, right here.
Are you in anything, you acting in anything?
I specialize in acting in cheap horror movies. If you're into exploitation films, you may have seen me. I've done about 36 movies in the past 5 years.
Mr. Hush, there's one. You can look that up.
One you can find easily on Netflix is Sea of Dust. That was one of my biggest films. They can find that in stores.
What was that about? I'm sorry.
Well, it's a tribute to Hammer films, the British horror films. It's Ingrid Pitt's last movie before she died. Tom Savini's in it. It's a very strange, trippy, surreal movie. But that's the biggest one I've done. It's the most easily findable in stores and on Netflix.
Anyone else want to ask Edward X. Young anything? Anyone? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fellow.
Thank you.
Good job. Anyone else want to come up? All you gotta do is raise your hand. It's a friendly crowd.
I'll go, Brian.
Don Fernando.
All right, good evening, everyone. Fernando Mendez, chiropractor from Brooklyn. I wanted to get up now because everybody had so many things to say that I wanted to remember. Edward, that ace before chiropractic and after chiropractic, I'm going to go and run with that. That's going to be one of my themes for my people, you know? And then Mark, the whole pillows thing. I get people coming all the time going, oh yeah, I just slept bad last night. I woke up today and I feel terrible, you know? And it's like, what happened? I usually say, oh, your wife probably hit you, you know? But I never thought about the dreams. And that's probably what's going on. I used to always tell people, well, you're just probably lying there and you got stiff, or you're laying all funny, but the dream part probably makes more sense. And then I was thinking about the orchestra you were talking about, and you accidentally mentioned Ken Casey, or the drug trips. And one of the more profound things I found in chiropractic was, you know, just the difference between taking a medication and coming in to see us. And something I deal with every day with people. And obviously going back to Pasquale with how he would explain it, and it made a big difference for me. To see, when you take that pill, you're kind of getting in the fast lane. You're raising your frequency. So you're getting over these things. But when you go in that fast lane, you're going to have an accident. And he always said, chiropractic's more like, we talk about small sequential steps. You kind of get in that slow lane, and you go nice and easy. And you have to go through this step by step. When you rush ahead, and you end up getting knocked back down. And that's kind of what recreational drugs or any of the meds you can kind of get. They kind of push you ahead, you feel great, but then you end up coming all the way back. You have to go step by step by step. It's an important realization to come to, and chiropractic kind of helps you. And you just have to be patient. And just me personally, getting in that slow lane and being in New York City, you know, it's tough for people. There, you know, you got the hustle and bustle, all that stress, and trying to stay just going through what you have to go through is difficult. So that's what I have to share.
You want to ask Don Fernando anything? Annette?
Did you study the Palmer method as well?
I went to Palmer. I went to the.
How can we
where you catch people off guard, you know, and then they can get what they want out of the class. It's not, you know, when people ask like, well, what do you want to say with that? It's like, well, I have something I'm saying, but I don't necessarily need to have everybody see what I see.
Anyone ask Senior Jack Halpin anything? Annette?
Is this your primary, what you do, or do you do other?
I do this. I'm an actor. I started out as an actor, and then that just led one thing to another. I think I might be
genre horror films?
I've done 2 horror films. Dead Serious, which is out there, and actually played on Logo for a year, and that's out there, and I really like that film a lot. And then I was in another one called Devil's Grove, which I looked at the preview, and I can't watch it. I'm not going to watch that. It's just like, I think they call it like torture porn kind of genre of horror films. It's like, just horrible, so I don't even want to see that. But,
you can thank him for me even watching any horror. I never watched it. They enjoyed it.
Anyone else want to
Get your
interact?
features, rules.
Dawn?
What was your experience like with Brian when you first adjusted with Brian? Totally different than past experiences?
yeah, I think so. I think like usually on visits, I've gone to other chiropractors, and one also who I knew personally, and the first couple of visits I always felt like it took a while to like really be kind of relaxed and just let go. And you know, I would often ask chiropractors like, don't touch, you know, don't do anything with my neck until I, you know, a couple visits in, I'll say that's okay. But maybe it was just the state I was in. I was just like, whatever you got to do, you know.
Didn't even lie down.
Yeah.
Edward X. Young, then Dawn.
Just curious if you had the same experience as I had, where I had medical doctors advising me not to go to chiropractors.
Yeah.
And try to force surgery or cortisone injections on me or pain pills.
Oh yeah.
And just wondering what your thoughts are on why there's this chasm, why the medical doctors are so down on something which works so well. So,
well, having a father who's a physical therapist, and he was a very politically involved physical therapist, like with a lot of legislation that involved, a lot of it was like, you know, people can't just go off the street and see a physical therapist. They have to get a referral from a doctor. So I might be prejudiced, and like I got a lot of like his point of view on that was that doctors were trying to control all of the medical field. You know, and so they're not really, it's not about looking for what's best, it seems. Because when, yeah, people did say like, hey, you don't want to go to a chiropractor, you want to get surgery. You want to get back surgery is what you need.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like, or really heavy duty drugs. What I found too is like a lot of times when I've had other experiences with, you know, doctors or hospitals or anything, it's all just so complicated. There's so much to remember. There's just so many steps. This was really simple.
Show up.
Yeah. Wait in, go in there, but it's very profound.
Dawn.
Well, I just want to know, I've seen people come into Mark's office and they're holding onto the walls and they barely get into the office and then they walk out. And so it took you 45 minutes to get to Brian's office. Did you get home a lot faster?
It took a while. It took a while, but I started noticing that I could get there in 20 minutes, and then I was getting there, you know, in 5, and you know, then.
You drew the cane out, that's when you went forward.
Yeah, not so afraid of falling down anymore.
When the first day he came in, the women there, they were crying at the sight of him. Because you were hanging on to the, by the mirrors. You were hanging on shaking.
I think it was about 5 months in, you said, Jack, you're taller than I thought you were.
I said, don't worry, he's just one of the drunks off the street. So put them at ease.
These are Spanish women.
No, it was actually, I know who it was.
Oh, wow.
I remember the faces of them to this day. And the thing is, people would always ask me, how's that guy doing? They know what you mean. And then when they saw Jack walking in the street, they didn't know who he was. And then they finally realized he was the guy they saw that day. And they were so, the people who come in my office are all nice. They were so happy for you, Jack. To see you do well. I know sometimes they would say that to him.
Yeah.
And that's the type of people I have who come in.
Yeah.
They're happy to see someone else doing well. All right, that's it for Corrigan, Jack. All right, anyone else want to come on? Leah, you gonna raise your hand?
What do you want me to say?
I can see you, you're at the raising hand.
No, you know what, I need a wrist adjustment.
Anyone else wanna come on?
I'll go. I don't know what I'm going to say exactly. I don't want to tell the story again of how I came to Brian, because I'm sure everyone's heard it a million. Oh, I'll tell it. Okay.
Many of us haven't.
But before I begin, I just wanted to say that what Pasquale was talking about, I just, it's such a beautiful idea, this idea that we're really whole and perfect, and that getting adjusted just brings us back to that vibration that is correct. And when, you think of a child that's newly born and the fontanelle is open in their connection to God, they're so much closer than we are. Somehow, bringing us back to that kind of vibration. That's how I see it. So we're already perfect. We're just getting all the crap that kind of gets in the way, as you were saying, Mark. My story, about how we came to Brian was we moved to Jersey City. One day I just needed to go into Manhattan. I needed to get an adjustment and I couldn't just schlep into Midtown. I just couldn't be bothered. And I said, Mark, I just can't do it. He said, listen, I saw this sign. This sign, it's however much for the first adjustment and that much for their, it's just around the corner, it's like $20 or something. And I looked at him and I said, how good could this guy be? And he said, why don't you try? I thought, okay. So I walked in and there was a young man, it was a very Spartan environment. Anyway, and I thought, okay, this looks like Jersey City. And then there's a guy, and there's a young man standing in the waiting room, and he said, this is the most, have you ever been here before? And I said, no. And he said, this is the most amazing chiropractor. He saved my life. I said, oh, really? So, I get onto the table, 15 minutes later after I've had my toes, my ankles, my wrists, my everything, palpated soft tissue, I come up, I'm like, that's very different. And really for us it's been, I don't know, just a remarkable relationship, but just a spiritual evolution, just the whole direction of my life is very much determined by the ongoing chiropractic adjustment, and also by, some other advice that came to me through Brian, someone else. So just my whole life just seems to be flowering out of this work. Am I being too vague? Okay, that's all I wanted to say. How did I do? Did
3
I go
minutes,
under time?
Anna, very impressive.
No, under time?
Yes.
Fantastic.
She's
Not too
usually,
much
she's usually in
talking.
Australia time, so it's a little bit of a mix-up.
Anyway.
Anyone want to ask Anna anything?
No, I can go now.
No, anyone? Go to Bojana first and then Fernando.
Did you find anything different with your singing or performing after being adjusted by Brian? Anything creative, different?
Not really. That's an area where I'm completely connected. If I could be as connected in all parts of my life and physically as I am when I sing, that would be great. So that's not the realm that I need the help in as much. But certainly, in terms of the body alignment, speaking physically, I mean, it's fair. But no, I haven't noticed it creatively.
Over here.
Did you ever have chiropractic care in Australia?
No. I wasn't connected to anybody, and I had no back trouble that I knew about, right? It was only when I came to New York and I helped someone carry a double bed down a set of stairs. It was beyond me, and clearly. And then months later, I couldn't go to the bathroom. Actually, the connection between the just going to the bathroom just disappeared. It was at that point that somebody suggested I go to a chiropractor, and that's when. And then he explained, this has been a condition that's been going on for years. Your whole back has been out for years. Do you know what I mean? You're just now experiencing the symptoms of it. Okay.
Annette, one more, Annette.
I'm sorry, I'm just curious, because I'm curious about how
Yeah.
you studied. When you say you couldn't go to the restroom, is that a problem with constipation or your urinary?
Both. I actually couldn't, you know, like.
So you were that
have
type.
You have a brain
type.
connection,
Yeah,
right?
you were that type.
It's like you go there and you're like, it just, because of the spine, there was no connection in the spine. It was like for a short period, I was like, what on earth is this? And luckily, I had a friend who took me to a chiropractor. I mean, that was just, I'd never experienced anything like that before. You know, where you know you want to pee and you somehow can't do it. It's just like very weird. Yeah.
Well, one more.
Had you injured your back in your youth?
I'd fallen once in Israel. I slipped and I fell like that, flat. But who knows? You know, there's so many different traumas you experience and you have no idea. It can be from birth too, most of it. No joke. I had a very long birth and I wasn't adjusted after that. Children need to be adjusted after the birth trauma. I mean, it's a trauma for many children. So you could go through life from that on with all of that. Now, shall I go?
Okay. One day some guy comes up to me, he was rather snotty, and he goes, "You only charge $20 for your first visit?" He goes, and he made some remark, and I go, "For you it's 80." No, what he did, he turned around and left.
Way to go.
These things just, just flew out of me. I couldn't help it. But I felt good afterwards. All right, anyone else want to come up?
Sorry.
It's an interesting place. One of the local, guy named Harry, he's a local drunk out front. He's been homeless for 18 years, which is amazing. About once a year he comes in, he sits down, and we chat. I usually talk to him in the street. And he was talking to me for a while. When he got up, the bottle of vodka fell out of his pocket, and it was on the chair. I go, "Harry, you left your bottle of vodka in the chair." He goes, "I would never leave that. I'm a professional." I was dying laughing. He goes, "Brian, he goes, you're a professional chiropractor? I'm a professional too. I don't ever leave my bottle anywhere." And he picked it up and walked out the door. So it's an interesting place.
Yeah.
He's a very sweet man, actually. He's very kind. He always goes, "I love you, Papa." And he says that to people. One guy who comes in, he's an older guy, and he's kind of, he's very nice, but he's a little bit on the rough side. And he goes, "Some drunk this show, I love you, Papa," to me. He goes, "You know what? It felt good." You never know what message you're going to get from somebody. And the one thing I learned from Pasquale was, "Brian, just focus on helping the people. Focus on serving them. Everything else will take care of itself." And the second he told me that, I did that, and everything has worked out. That office, I did house calls for years. I used to have an office on Jersey Avenue, my first street, but it flooded out. The roof came down. It was a mess, so I had to leave there. I said, "Okay, everyone doing it." I did house calls for, I forget, maybe 5.5, 6 years. And I saw that place. I said, "I'm going to go to that place." So I went in. I learned how to speak Spanish. That's how I got that place. Everything was Spanish, and she gave it to me. And here I am to this day, still moving. And let me tell you something. A lot of people told me I can't do it. You can't charge 15. You can't. I said, "You just watch me." And now all those people said that. I don't know where they are anymore, because who knows? They drifted off to somewhere. But you have to have faith in yourself, and I always tell people, just do what you got to do. But the point where, like a marker and Anno, if you learn this I just learned how to be quiet, relax, listen to myself. That's why when I take care of people, I don't want them talking to me, but I have to focus on that moment, what I have to do. Because when I meet someone, I can tell you right away something's going on with that. I can't tell you their exact experience in life or their personal, but I know this person's hurting in many different ways. That's why sometimes I step back, I look at someone, it's like, boom, I just feel it, and just do what I have to do. And I tell the people, just come back. And some people listen to me and some don't. The one thing, I just accept people for where they're at and who they are. I don't put any judgments on them. I say, if you want to come in, this is what I have to offer. Like you said, you serve the people food. If they want it, they'll keep coming in. And that's because I don't want anyone running after me, calling me, sending me letters, or bothering me. I don't like that at all, so I don't do it to other people. I just say, here I am, come on in. And I've been in office over 6 years, so I'm still in existence and going well. All right, anyone else want to come up?
Can I ask you a question?
See.
Paul Crystal
Yeah.
Did he know Pasquale?
He knew Pasquale very well.
Okay.
That's where I met Bob.
Oh, okay.
And Mark as well, at Pasquale's house.
And Bob Crystal was recommended by Brian to his father who lives down there.
Well, and you got my number from Bob.
Yeah, and Dana.
Yeah, Bob's a chiropractor in Point Pleasant, New Jersey.
And the other, there's another part of the question. Did Pasquale teach you guys like a life balance in terms of taking time for yourself? Is that why your schedules are?
Well, you know what? This chiropractor, I know his name is Haig John in Florida. He goes, you have to serve yourself in order to serve other people. So if I don't take care of myself, I can't take anyone else. That's why I'm very disciplined, very disciplined. So I have a little exercise routine. It's not very complicated, it's very simple, and I do that. I do it every day because I'm not a big guy, I'm little, so I have to keep myself, I have a very strong, how do you have a strong grip? Because I hang from a bar. You know, and I make sure. I just do little things like that to keep myself well. Because what use am I if I'm walking in this to the office? You'd be like, I'm not going with this guy. He's a mess. So if you just learn how to take care of yourself. And the other thing is, Pasquale would say, no forced jobs. Some people exercise, they hurt themselves. Yeah. And I always tell people, you're forcing it. You're forcing it. Just learn how to do something. I told one guy, I don't like doing anything. I said, well, then go walk around the block. But don't, this guy's on the heavy side, I go, but don't have any money in your pocket. Because I know you run to that pizza place. I said, so when you go out for a walk, you make sure you have zero money, zero. And if you want to get a box of pizza, you're going to have to panhandle for it, which I know he wouldn't do. And he just looked at me. I go, why don't you just choose one thing, just one. I don't care if you walk 5 houses there and 5 houses back. And just do it. And he's like, all right, so we'll see what happens with him. Most people are very rough on themselves. That's the one thing I notice in chiropractic. People come in and the horrible things they say about themselves are unbelievable. I just say to people, you know, if I spoke to you like that, would you want to be around me? They're like, no. I said, then don't talk to yourself like that. Just a simple thing. And once people learn how to relax and just be happy and realize, you know what, all right, I'm not maybe where I want to be, but if you just, like Fernando was saying, step by step by step, and you'll be all right. Anyone else want to ask me anything?
I know it's dependent on the condition and that kind of thing, but just for general health and maintenance, how often should somebody come to a chiropractor?
You know, like, I think most people should go like once a week or at the least twice a month.
Okay.
For me, I need it because, you know, it's a physical job what I do. So I try at least twice. I try my best to get twice a week, at least once, but usually twice a week. Fernando and I train. I hop on the pad train and hop on the R train or the N train. I'm right near his house. All right.
What's the difference in an osteopath with adjustment as opposed to a chiropractor?
I've never been to one, so I really don't know. But
do you know anything about that?
I just know they really just got absorbed by the medical profession. They were separate and distinct many years ago, but now, because my friend, a guy I grew up with, is an osteopath, but he's an emergency room doctor, and he told me it's a rare event to find someone who actually will work on someone with their hands. I really don't know what they do, so I can't answer that.
I've seen the adjustment because I work with a doctor and an osteopath briefly, and it's very weird. I mean, I've been going to a chiropractor for 10 years, you know, and I love it. It's helped me so much, but I see that and it looks sort of violent. There's something about it that looks kind of violent to me as opposed to a chiropractic, which is a little bit more.
No, you know, each chiropractor has their own way, and you just you find someone you like. It's someone that you actually like. Like, I want to be around this person. That's why I look at it as a whole freak. One guy goes to me, Brian, why are there so many drunks around your office? This was like 5 years ago. I love these drunks. I go, it's a frequency thing, I told him. He goes, what do you mean? I go, they feel comfortable around here because it's like a frequency like this. And it's their zone. This is where they are. And it's like when someone comes in, one guy used to explain to me, you have 4 candy stores on a corner. Bojana will go to one, I'll go to one, Anna one, and some guy named Louie will go to the other one. Why do you pick that one? He always got the frequency. That's where you want to be. And the other thing I say to people, a lot of people are stuck in what I call a comfort zone. That was Pasquale's big thing. He goes, I never want to be comfortable. He was screaming at people. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, second I'm comfortable, that means I have to move up. And I have to do something different, something to make myself better. And he goes, but when you go from this comfort zone to this, and you go up to the next level, you go, that's not always easy, and you feel uncomfortable. So when some people start coming to a chiropractor at first, they feel uncomfortable because they're being brought out of their comfort zone. They're starting to think about things or feel things they're not used to. And some people freak out, and they just, oh, what's going on? And some people, I say, look, it's a change, just accept it. And know, I always tell people, just know at the end of this experience, you're going to be all right. And if you know that, you will be all right. But if you're not aware of yourself, and that's what fear is, and what's going to happen? What's this? Blah, blah, blah. And they freak out, and their mind just, I said, if you just learn how to relax and realize, you know what, I'm going to get through this. Every person who does that always gets better. Every time. You want to say something, Mark?
Yeah, I did.
Come on up, Senor. You take it off with you? Thanks for coming.
Most people think chiropractic is just for people, but I work on animals too.
Tell them about your dog.
And that's what I was going to do, is share a story that happened about 3 weeks ago. We have 4 boxers, Dawn and I.
And then they brought Mark. The pictures of the dog swimming in the lake, that's his dog.
Oh my God.
Those are his dogs, and when Dawn took that picture. There's like 4 pictures of the dog, that's his house.
Right.
So anyway, Jake is the father of the 2 younger dogs that you've seen with us in those pictures. And I don't know, they were running through the yard, running up on the deck, running up on this picnic table we have on the deck. And I was having lunch with Dawn in between practice hours, and I hear this big, like that. And I look, and Jake hit the deck with his head. And I go out there, and no breath, no twitching, no nothing. I didn't know what happened to the dog, seriously. And this is hard for Dawn because she kind of freaked. And it's okay, because she's even crying now. But the dog, seriously, wasn't having a seizure, I thought maybe a heart attack, and I said, my first vibe is, this dog's gone. He died. Because he was not breathing, nothing was moving in his body. I looked at him, so I left the dog and ran in and got Dawn because I saw her. I thought, she's going to have a heart attack, seriously. And it's funny now, but it really wasn't funny. It was very intense, and I felt, for the first time in a long time, some fear coming into me. And I had to make a quick decision, like Pasquale would say, get centered, get to your ground zero. So I had to get to my ground zero. I'm worried about my girlfriend, the dog's there, not breathing. This is probably 40, 50 seconds by now. So I got her settled, and I just had to leave her. I went out on the deck. I picked the dog up, and the dog was like a towel. Seriously. And my vibe and my thought was, I felt like the energy wasn't in this animal anymore. It was really weird. So what do I know how to do? Adjust. I picked the dog up, I grabbed his neck, and I adjusted his neck pretty forcefully about, for 20, 30 seconds. And then his front legs started doing this, and I'm thinking, wow. But also, something serious with his neurological system was down. And then I tried to pick him up and put him down on the ground, and his back legs go totally split. And he's still not really breathing, and his head is just like eyes back in his head, like he's really in bad, serious shape. So I kept working on him, because what else am I going to do? You couldn't take him anywhere very fast. So I just kept adjusting and trusting what I knew would be the best thing that I could do. And all of a sudden, his legs start moving in the front. And I don't know what the time frame, 3, maybe 4 minutes. I pick him up, I lift him under his belly, I put his legs, and they start to still split. I pick him up, and I'm holding him until he's touching his paws there. And he just started to stand. And it was really a wild situation. And we looked at him, and he looked like totally freaked out. Like, no, seriously, like terror in the dog's eyes. And he stayed by our sides and just sat there next to us. And within what, about maybe an hour, he seemed normal. We took him to the park. Because my thought is, if he kind of had a heart attack and he's going to go, I'm going to see if he can run and let him go. Because that's the way the dog loved to run. And I figured he's going to go all the way if that's what happened. Because my thought was, something like that happened. I really didn't know what was going on. And I know it's a crazy way to think, but that's the way I thought at the time. We took him to the park, he ran, he came home with us, and then what, about 2 days later, he had another episode just like that. He just keeled over because he was chasing a deer. Keeled over, and his back legs went like this. He went on the side, his eyes rolled back. Same thing, stopped breathing, all kinds of crazy stuff. And to get this tape going forward faster so I can get in my 3 minutes, this happened maybe about 5 or 6 different times. We took him to the vet because we were frightened. We thought, hey, you know, something's going on. And the vet, we had a cardiologist specialist vet that was given to us at this place where Dawn's got a good friend who's a vet, really cool person. But they put us in with a cardiologist. He said, well, we can put a halter monitor on him, like a vest, hook it on him, and he can, when he's running, to have an episode. And the coolest thing the vet said to us, let him be a dog. Like, let him run, because you were freaked out about it. We should contain him, not let him move or anything like that. And each time he had these episodes, I would adjust him and he would come back, which was really amazing to me. It's miraculous how this stuff works, and not just in people, but animals. So to make the story and close it all up, he's perfect now. And we didn't get the monitor on him because we said, well, let's just wait. Because they wanted to do an MRI, all this stuff, thinking it's either brain tumors. They say boxers have congenital heart problems. I mean, all he did was freak the hell out of us, not give us any kind of information. So we thought, well, let's just leave and do what we did, which I trusted. And I'll tell you, that dog, remember the weeping camel story? Remember how the tone changed? The other night, the dogs have a bedroom, so I'm laying on this bed with the dogs. And I'm holding him because I love this animal so much. And if love was some kind of measure you could put on it, you could feel this going into him from me. All of a sudden, the dog, Dawn, you were there, he took this incredible sigh. I said, because I could tell he had terror in his body stored like we do as humans. And as I was holding his sacrum and his occiput, he took this big breath and just went, like he let go of that terror. And then he did it again. About 30 seconds later, I just kept holding him because I was just like, Jake, I love you. I can't believe you're still alive. Really, honestly, to me, it's like a miracle too. So I'm holding him. He took this other really deep breath and he just went like this. And he's been perfect ever since because he wouldn't even like leave our side. He was so terrified that if something happened to him, he came to me to adjust him.
Right.
You know, and Dawn wouldn't take him to the park because she thought, I don't have Mark with me if he needs to be adjusted. What happens? So she wouldn't take him by himself. So now he's like perfect, right? Don't you think? He's back to his old self, which he was a few months ago. Anyway, it was a miraculous, cool thing that happened to us just recently, and you know, it's something in chiropractic. When people like yourselves come into us, we got to have some serious faith, man. So when Brian was talking about taking care of ourselves. I've been to many chiropractors, and I had a teacher one time saying, given the same technical training, who would you go to? Somebody like Mother Teresa or Gaddafi? If they both were trained as chiropractors, what kind of, I said, you got to have heart. You want to go to somebody who's got a frequency that you can vibe with, because I've had plenty of people come in and go, I've been to chiropractors and never felt the difference. And they'll come in and I'm not doing anything special that we don't do every day. And all of a sudden these miraculous things happen. You got to pick somebody you vibe with. And anyway, time's up.
You want to ask Mark anything?
How old is the dog?
How old's Jake? 5?
He'll
He'll be 6.
Anyone else?
Well, it's really.
And it was just really weird. You couldn't, I don't know what the heck. It's just, I'm just glad it cleared, whatever. His system cleared itself.
It could have been some nerve going to his heart that was being picked
I
up?
think what happened was they were running, he got up on the table, and the dogs, they attack each other, they play hard. He fell and really traumatized and knocked his spine out of whack so badly that he just like, he couldn't breathe, he wasn't even breathing, which happens to people in car accidents, same thing.
All right, Senor Mark, good job. Well, anyone else, and then we'll wrap it up.
I did want to just address something, Ken.
Want to do it from there?
Yeah, yeah.
What's the hassle getting it up?
I can't remember the beautiful artist's name.
Well, Jana.
John.
She said, what if you don't believe in God? And to me, sometimes it's all a matter of semantics, because I think, you know, they talk about ki or chi in both, and prana. The air, the very life you breathe, you know, the vibe, wavy gravy was something that somebody used in terms of a vibration. So it doesn't really matter what you believe in, beauty, nature, but it's that life force that flows through us. And I think that's what chiropractic helps to help you unhinge. And I have met with doctors that were more concerned about making money because they probably needed to than just service. So I'm glad to meet you. And I've also known chiropractors that have adjusted bodies. So that's all. And also how important it is for babies if you are talking to people about chiropractic, how important it is for children to get adjusted as soon as possible.
You want to answer anything? All right then, folks. Wait, Jana.
Are you happy living here? Do you like it?
Yeah, it's exciting. It's been an interesting.
Journey.
It's been an interesting journey. We got stuck in Irene. We moved twice because of the hurricane.
Oh.
Other than that, it's been great.
Anyone else want to ask anything? Everybody,
Has the chiropractic helped your rheumatoid arthritis?
It helps. It helps.
That's a whole different.
Yeah, it's an autoimmune.
I mean, I've got arthritis, but it's the
Osteo. Yeah, I have osteo and but yes, it does. It does
anyone else want to ask anything? All right, we'll clap for Annette. Does anyone want to ask me anything before I wrap this up? Or maybe someone who's spoken want to get up? All right. Well, I just want to say thank you for coming. We'll do more of these in the future. I'll have to talk to Jack about it. But the one thing about these meetings I realize, when you get up and express yourself, it really does, it helps you, I realize, with people. That's the one thing I noticed from going to Pasquale's. Well, for myself, I learned how to speak in front of people. Well, Pasquale, he was spoiled, he's strict. He was very rough on me because at one point he goes, "You're going to run the meetings every week," because he used to run the meetings when I first went there, and then he would just, you know, pick, all right, you go this week, you know, whoever showed up, he would pick someone. And he goes to me, "You're running the meetings every week," and I resisted at first. And he finally goes to me, "This place needs a tone, and you're going to set it." So I said, wow, that's quite an honor. So I did it, but I also put that in, not just for that, but for my life. I have to set a tone, and really, like, you know, this one lady said something very nice, Nancy Hutchinson. She's an inventor. You should look her up, all sorts of amazing things. But she did this whole interview, very technical about water and machines and all this fancy stuff. But she, at the end, she said, "Nancy, do you want to say anything else?" Well, she started saying to some guy, "You know, the answers are inside of you," because he was complaining about something. I said, "Well, relax and figure out what you want to do." She goes, "Anything else?" She goes, "Yes, let us all be who we are." And that's what she ended on. So I said to myself, let us all be who we are. So if I want to be who I am, then the question is, well, who am I? So I guess once you start on that journey, then you can figure out. The one thing about just my life, if you relax and you can figure out what you want to do. If something doesn't feel comfortable, then I don't do it. Not comfortable, if something doesn't feel right for me is a better way. I don't do it. If it feels right, I do it. Simple as that. And I'll end on that note.
Thank you.
Well, that went well. Higher than you think.